Hey guys, welcome back to the Charismatic Nerd. So today we're gonna talk about emotions. Ew. Now I can make a pathetic attempt at explaining why emotions are important and all, but I'm not gonna do that yet. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna show you a scene from a movie called Enter the Dragon, where Bruce Lee is explaining the importance of emotional content, or in other words, being emotionally integrated when you're living your life. So I'm going to show you the Charismatic Nerd's horrible cut, but I'll definitely give you a link so you can watch this 2-minute scene by yourself. Bruce Lee attends a martial arts session with a student, and in this session he asks his student to kick him. His student hesitates, but Bruce Lee urges him on to kick. So his student throws a kick, but it's lackluster. And Bruce Lee is not pleased, so he briefly explains the concept of emotional content. So he asks the student to kick him again, and this time the student is all amped up and throws a high energy kick. But again, Bruce Lee is not pleased. He explains not to kick with anger, and then he urges him on to kick him again, but in a back and forth way. So his student throws a couple of kicks, Bruce Lee moves back and returns a kick himself, then his student counters with another kick. At this point, Bruce Lee is pleased with his student's kicking. And to further ingrain the lesson, he asked the student how his kick felt to him. The student paused and replied to Bruce Lee with, "Let me think." Bruce Lee smacks his student on the head and gives him a legendary response, which goes like this: "Don't think, feel. It is like a finger pointing away to the moon." When his student looks at the finger of Bruce Lee smacks him again and tells him, "Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory." When his student finally understood, Bruce Lee dismissed him, but not after he smacked him again for something else. You'll either instantly understand that scene or you won't. And it's okay if you can't understand it. That's why I'm making this video, just to elaborate a little bit more about the emotional content aspect of that scene. So what Bruce Lee is preaching in that scene is basically that you need to be an emotionally integrated individual. So when you're living your day-to-day life and you're taking part in your day-to-day actions, your emotions have to be involved. That's what he meant by emotional content. And the whole aspect about being an emotionally integrated individual is that you're comfortable with all parts of you, whether that's sexually or with anger, sadness, all the emotions and parts that make you human. An emotionally integrated person is comfortable with it, so that when they go live their day-to-day life and do their things, their emotions will adjust and act accordingly. So say if you want to talk to a cute girl, you allow your sexuality to be expressed. Or if someone does something very disrespectful for you, you allow that anger, again, integrated in an appropriate way, to be involved in your reaction, right? So that's emotional content that Bruce Lee was trying to stress to his pupil. Now, stoic dweebs and logical dorks will come at me accusing me of allowing emotions to rule your life. That's not what I'm saying, all right? And I don't want to sound like a broken record and talk about emotional integrating and all that. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna show you a quote from Rollo May in his book called The Courage to Create. And just in case you don't know, Rollo May is an excellent psychologist from the 50s who unfortunately passed away in the early 90s. And you can take a look at his credentials and all the research he's done, and then take a look at the quote I'm about to say and really ponder on it. Reason works better when emotions are present. The person sees sharper and more accurately when his emotions are engaged. Indeed, we cannot really see an object unless we have some emotional involvement with it. As you can see, there's a significant benefit when your emotions are involved, especially in your decision making. And when you really think about it, if you think of all the great people from history, they were, to a certain extent, emotionally integrated. Can you imagine them if their emotions were not involved? Like, for example, Julius Caesar, who aka is a bit of a drama queen. Can you imagine Caesar accomplishing his feats without his emotions being engaged? Can you imagine him conquering Gaul, which is modern day France, without his ambition and all the other feelings he had, can you imagine him taking the risk to start the civil war in Rome, where before he crossed the Rubicon, him being a drama queen, says these fellow lines where, "Let the die be cast." Everything Julius Caesar did, his emotions were engaged. And that's why to this very day, he's such a significant individual that people cannot stop talking about or thinking about at all. So you have to remember for yourself, guys, that a life where your emotions aren't properly expressed is not really a life at all. Again, for those stoic dweebs and logical dorks, I'm not saying to let your emotions control your life. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that to allow your emotions to be a part of your life as an emotionally integrated individual. That's all that I'm trying to say. When your emotions are integrated into your being, then whenever life throws a curveball at you or a challenge, you'll be able to act accordingly because your emotions, whether you believe it or not, they have their own specific wisdom in how to react to this world. An emotionally integrated person can express his or her sexuality and deal with all the consequences. An emotionally integrated person can engage with conflict and again, deal with whatever consequences that comes with it. An emotionally integrated person can feel his or her sadness and deal with it and allow it to be expressed and move on. Honestly, I think one of the biggest things about being emotionally integrated is that you see yourself as a human being and you see everyone else as painfully human. That's the beauty when your emotions are involved because the emotions that you feel, billions of people in the past, present, and in the future will feel the exact same thing. And that's what connects us all in being painfully human. Now, I know this all sounds nice, and some of you might be wondering, how do I become an emotionally integrated individual? And if you're not sure where to start, I strongly recommend therapy. And honestly, there's no shame. Honestly, when I did therapy, I had to learn how to express my anger. I had to allow anxiety to go through me. I basically had to learn how to really use my emotions to an extent. And it was painful, it was tough, but by the end of it, the journey was totally worth it. And keep in mind, guys, I understand, therapy, depending on your background, can seem kinda iffy. Listen, I'm Muslim and I have an Ethiopian background, and therapy was never even thought of or mentioned during my lifetime, well, until I was 28. So again, there's no shame. I've done it. I get it. If you come from an immigrant background, it's kind of iffy, but I strongly recommend it. Remember, your life is all about the emotional content, and living a life with no emotions or not expressing your emotions is just a poor existence. So please, treat yourself like the valuable asset that you are and take the chance. Listen, guys, when you're out there living your life, you don't want to be thinking too much. No, instead, you want to be feeling it. Just like Bruce Lee mentioned in that scene in Enter the Dragon. Like I said earlier, some of you will understand that scene and understand this video, and some of you won't, and that's okay. I appreciate all your views. And with that being said, thank you again, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my newsletter. And guys, remember, you're not just any type of nerd. You're a charismatic nerd.